Welcome to number 5 in our series of underrated or overrated. And I appreciate everybody sending in all the suggestions. That's where all these came from. And yeah, let's keep them coming because I've got room for a bunch more of these, and they're pretty fun to do. And I think it's also, if you have a question, if you're thinking this, other people are thinking it. So the more that we can get this out there, the better. So all right, here we go. Underrated or overrated. First one is using data. And using data it can be a big deal, or can be overwhelming. And I think we have to look at, okay, defining what is using data and how can it help you, either even at the beginning level or even at the very sharp end. So I'll just answer the question: using data, underrated or overrated? Using data, completely underrated. There's so much that you can do with it. It's fantastic objective information, and no matter where you're at in your in your on track life, there's always something to be gleaned from it. So it can be as simple as video's data. So whether you've got a video point of view from out front, whether you've got somebody following you, there's so much to be learned from video data. And it's as simple as getting a camera and getting on your bike, and you can look at your video, start to figure some things out. You can send it off and have some online training done. Not gonna go into that, but there's plenty of things available for you to look at that. And then you can go as far as looking at some of the GPS speed based data sources, whether it's AIM or some of these even phone based ones. There's a ton of information available there, and even all the way up to full data on the bikes, or cars, or whatever it might be, right? You got throttle, you got brake, you got suspension. There's so much stuff there. I think the way to look at it is this. I could take somebody to win, say, a club championship just using video, right? It's data, but I could use that. I can get somebody to qualify for a national using just GPS speed data. And ultimately, if we want somebody to get in the top 5 of, say, Moto America, then we're going to need full data. That kind of gives you a little bit of a hierarchy of what data we're looking for and how that fits into it. So data, I think if you're not using it, it's something that you should add to your deal. It's fantastic. And the bottom line is that, yeah, the data doesn't lie. So yeah, let's get data in there and get your thing going with it. So, all right, another one that I had written in is pushing on the outside foot peg for traction. So underrated or overrated? Completely overrated in the pavement world. So I think when people look at this, pushing on the outside foot peg for traction, you got to kind of break this down a little bit. And yeah, I mean, if I'm on a dirt bike, if I'm riding mini bikes and maybe their grip is an issue, am I going to push? Am I going to put some weight? Basically, I'm putting some weight on the outside foot peg. And what that's doing is a couple of things. One, yeah, it's helped pushing some load into the chassis. I get that, but it's actually helped standing the bike up. So if we can stand the bike up, we're going to be on a little bit bigger part of the tire, and we can have more grip. And in a very low traction environment, absolutely a big deal. I just had this conversation with a national winning dirt track rider a few weeks ago, asked him if he pushed on the outside foot peg for traction. And his answer was absolutely, positively in the dirt. He goes, you have to, because you're looking for everything, every bit of traction that you can get, you're looking for. I asked him about, what about on the road bike? And he goes, I do it on the road bike, but it doesn't really do any good other than it helps keep me on the bike. So he's using it more of something to help keep him on the bike. In other words, help support his core and also help get the bike stood up a little bit. And he's riding a very high horsepower road bike. So is he using it for traction? Not so much. He's using it more to get the bike stood up, and it's a way also for him to be supported on the foot pegs. So on the road, this isn't getting this information from like a national winning dirt tracker, a national winning Moto America rider is if unless you're at that level, this really isn't a topic to be even putting in your list in your to-do list. Again, the only caveat to that would be if your body shape or bike ergonomics are such that you need to weight the outside peg to help keep you on the bike. I get it, but are you doing it for traction? Yeah, I just don't see that. So anyway, there you go. I think it's overrated. All right, rear brake, and then I've actually had a few people ask about thumb brakes. So rear brake, underrated or overrated? Um, I'm going overrated. And the reason being is because for the 99.8% of us that are riding, we really aren't putting ourselves in a position to use the rear brake. Remember, 99.8% of the situations that we're in, or even our riding capabilities. Again, there was just a great article that I read with one of the MotoGP riders that was switching over on a new bike. And one of the things that they talked about was he was not even in a position to use the rear brake yet. He had a thumb brake. He had never used it. And that this was something that he was going to have to get used to, but he wasn't ready for it yet. So rear brake, I've done a bunch of podcasts. There's a lot of information out there on rear brake for me. And when we look at rear brake, we have to look at rear brake as in it ends up being a little bit more of a personal preference. There's some people that like having a rear brake. They like the feel of it. Like they like to be able to use it. There's other people that are winning national races that don't use the rear brake at all. So you got to put that into context a little bit. So is the rear brake going to help you? It can. The rear brake can help you in some circumstances, but it's not using the rear brake for every corner and every situation. So you have to ask yourself, why are you using the rear brake? Is it to help take some load off the front of the bike? Is it to help it turn in the middle of the corner? Is it to help with wheelies? Is it you have to actually ask yourself, are these things causing you a problem? And do you need to mitigate it with the rear brake? So I think there's a lot of things that you can do without the rear brake until you get to a point of where you need it. So unless you're in that sort of 0.2% that are looking for that last little bit, rear brake, probably overrated. Thumb brake. Yeah, so thumb brake also kind of goes into this as well. I think that if you're using the rear brake already and you're having success with it, great. And then if you're struggling on some of the right-hand corners where maybe you can't get your foot in there and you're wanting to use rear brake, yeah, I can kind of see it. I also know that for some riders that I've talked to that are at the sharp end using a thumb brake, they like it because it's more in front of them, right? It's not an afterthought of it being on your foot. It's more on the bar, and it becomes more of a standard operating procedure of their controls. So yeah, I can see where there would be something there. But again, these are riders that are at the very, very sharp end. So you have to ask yourself, why am I using it? What is it a comfort thing? Is it a lap time thing? And go from there. But yeah, I think rear brake and even the thumb brake for the 99.8% of us is overrated. So all right, there you go. Another one in our series of underrated or overrated.